7 p.m. We are back in open session. Next up is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item, comments and suggestions from the public. Anybody sign in? Anybody need to address the board tonight? Okay. If not, we can move on to our first presentation for summer school.
All right. Good evening. Sure. All right, we have our summer school team. We are missing a couple of members currently. They are at Ridge for parent-teacher conferences. They were going to be making it by 7, but maybe they'll be arriving in a moment. But we will go ahead and get started as we worked with them collaboratively to put these slides together. I'll let the team introduce themselves. Oh, Elizabeth's jumping in for us here. Great, thank you. We'll have the team go ahead and introduce themselves and their role with summer school, and then we'll share some of our highlights from this year.
Hi, I'm Nicole Robinson, Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and I oversee the Summer Leap, Summer Leap and Enrichment programs.
My name is Phil Deppa. I was the summer school principal at Holmes Junior High.
Hi, Elizabeth Degree. I'm the Executive Director of Educational Services, and I oversee extended school year.
All right, so I'm going to take some slides since Mrs. Doles is not here. Jill Doles is the current principal at Ridge, and she was the principal for our Summer Leap program at Forest View this summer. So I will take her slides since she's unable to be here. So here were our dates this summer. Summer Leap took place from June 9th to July 3rd. That was 15 days. 15 half days of school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, no school on Fridays. The extended school year at Rupley was exactly the same dates and times. We did not have school on June 19th, and then, like I said, on Fridays. Sorry, I'm managing two things here. Okay, so our summer program offerings, as you can see, there are 3 offerings here. Summer Leap is for students who are pre-identified through the MTSS process. So those are students who are in kindergarten through 7th grade and who receive literacy and or math interventions during the school year and would benefit from further instruction in the summer, as well as students in our newcomer classes who would benefit from continued English development over the summer. And these are students from our monolingual English and our dual language Spanish classrooms. Those students are invited to the summer program. Then we offer a wide variety of enrichment courses, which are open to all students. And as you'll see, some are invitation only, but for instance, Spanish Dual Language Academy is for students who are in the Spanish Dual Language program, but any student within that program is welcome to attend. Double Accelerated Math is for rising 6th graders who are getting on a double accelerated pathway, meaning they're skipping over 6th grade math. So this course is a way to get them some of their 6th grade math standards. Instrumental Music Camp is for band and orchestra students. Our enrichment courses for junior high students, grades 5 through 7, who are currently in 6th through 8th. Those are open for anybody. And then our volleyball and wrestling camps are also open for any students in the 5th or 7th grade range. And then finally, we have extended school year.
So extended school year is for, as it says, students recommended through IEP data. And that is based on a number of different factors, including their growth, including how they might regress over the summer and not be able to recoup as the same as we might expect from a typical student. It could also be kind of some recent breakthroughs that kids have, but they're recommended based on a certain number or some factors that ISB has identified. And we provide the services listed in students' IEPs. So it may or may not be all of the same services that they receive during the school year. And then we also do pre-K to 7 for ESY.
Can I ask a quick question? Have you ever had to turn away a kid for any of these programs? Do we ever hit a cap, or has that just not happened yet? Or
Yes, we've had caps on certain class grade levels, for example. So at certain grade levels, it fills up of priority students, and then we're unable to fill it after that. But then, as you saw, sometimes not all the students who register then show up, and so it's very unpredictable about how that takes place. So.
And we don't cap for ESY. It's just based on anyone who is entitled as part of their IEP. We attempt to enroll them.
Is that held on campus, the summer school campus, or is there any that go elsewhere?
So extended school year is for all of our in-district students is at Ripley. Has been for the last 2 years. Our students who attend out-of-district programs, for example, NSSEO programs or private therapeutic day schools, they attend at those sites.
Okay. Moving forward. Jill?
Okay, so some of our summer school curriculum that we used for summer leap, we used illustrative math. We had district created curriculum for our science and social studies, which was a little bit different this year. Some of the things that were added in were some hands-on experiences for the kids. So the student engagement just soared. The teachers loved the lessons. The kids were walking out excited, and it was just a whole different experience. So we really appreciate all the people who put in such hard work making those lessons for us. We also use Scholastic Scholar Zone for junior high ELA and math, and Varsity Tutors was used for grades 4 through 7. For enrichment courses, there was a double accelerated math, which we've offered throughout the years, as well as having the Spanish Dual Language Academy and the instrumental music camp. The teachers were the ones who created the curriculum for the enrichment classes. So offering a different variety of things to spark kids' interest, let them try something new, but also keeping them engaged in learning. And then for the extended school year ESY program, they use STAR, Fast and Ready, News to You, and different strategies and curriculum that would be focused towards their IEP goals.
How Varsity Tutors was used for grades 4 through 7?
Do you want me to take that? Okay. So yeah, we were able to use that for our 4th through 7th graders at homes, so that a larger number of students would be able to be serviced all at the same time. So we took students who had been receiving intervention during the school year and just put them into small groups and got them on, working online with Varsity Tutors. So there were, each student had 4 days of tutoring a week in either reading or math. Some had both reading and math for a half an hour a day. So they pulled out of their classroom, came to the LRC, sat down at their table with the rest of their group, logged into the computer, and then received that support through the Varsity Tutors. At the K-3 level, we were able to provide that instruction from a teacher, from interventionist.
Is there a teacher in sort of supervising
Yes.
when the Varsity Tutors is going on?
Yes, we had a Varsity Tutors facilitator as well as the tech assistant there for the entire time. So they were able to monitor, make sure that, students were doing what they were supposed to be doing, that the tutors showed up and were there. So it went off pretty well.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, we had our largest group was 33 students and our smallest group was 15. So we, at homes this summer, it was 160 total students who received Varsity Tutors.
So is that more students than we would typically serve in summer school?
It's more students than we would be able to provide intervention for with our in-person staff, just because we wouldn't have been able to hire that many additional staff who were qualified to provide intervention.
Okay, I might just skip to a question I was going to say for last, but how did we do overall with staffing, with just, in person, like District 59 personnel?
Yeah, we were able to fully staff Summer Leap. We did have a couple of last minute resignations that we had to kind of scramble to fill, but we were able to 100% fill all the needs with our in-district staff. ESY?
ESY is a little more difficult, and we ended up hiring some additional support staff when we had to have some teachers who were certified in different areas so that they could partner. We also did have to have a couple of contract staff in order to meet all of our related services needs.
Do we expect the increase in the hourly rate that came with the last contract to have a very nice impact on all of this?
We hope, as I've said before, when talking about summer, it's very unpredictable in terms of some people are not in the season of their life that it doesn't matter how much we pay them. It's,
I need my summer.
I'm home with my children, I've got that time. So, but it definitely was very, very exciting for some of our staff who are looking to make money and give back to the kids in our community. So I know there's some teachers that are like, I'm in next year, sign me
So
up.
you're hearing that
Yes,
already?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
We're hopeful too. And now you see Leah is here. I'm going to step back and let the person who did the work get the credit for that.
All right, moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about the enrollment process. So I did mention this earlier, but the priority students, so we identify, this is what a priority student would be, a student who's receiving tier 2 or 3 interventions. They have an expected skill regression if they don't continue with some instruction over the summer and did not meet their academic goals during the school year. And schools identify those students based on the percentage of the students in need in their school. So for example, a smaller school such as Ridge would have a smaller number of students to invite than perhaps a larger school like Salt Creek, just based on enrollment and also number of students with intervention need. And then we encouraged families to register during winter conferences, and then we had kind of rolling enrollment throughout. So as we got our first wave of people signed up, we staffed accordingly, and then we were able to push that out to other people and continue the enrollment process through the spring. And then you can see the ability to serve our priority students. So we did invite 650 priority students. We had 455 of them registered, and then the number who actually attended was 400. So
the
what
60% attendance, is that typical from the invitations?
yeah, what we've noticed actually, Ms. Savage and I have kind of looked at the historical data of since after COVID, the last few years of summer school, and it seems like about 400 is what we get, no matter how many we invite, no matter how many register, it's right around 400 of our priority students. And then we're able to service more based on our enrichment, and then
Summer.
Is there any patterns on the demographics for who actually is attending versus not? Is there something that we can do to encourage more students to attend?
I think it's just families who are able to, it's a half day. So a lot of that, it comes down to family situations. Are they able to deal with the transportation and have their child get home at 12:30 and be okay with that? Are they able to get their child there? Are they going to be in town? Are they not going on vacation in June? All of those different things. We haven't been able to see any kind of rhyme or reason or pattern to who attends and who doesn't, other than it just works for my family this summer or it doesn't.
So priority students is just for summer leap. That number does not include enrichment
Right.
or ESY.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are. We have the enrichment enrollment. So we had 301 students signed up for these various enrichment courses, and you can see the numbers there, with our largest is always our instrumental music camp, facilitated fabulously by our music staff, including Ms. Hovland Lamarina back there. So you can see we are very proud that our junior high enrichment numbers have continued to rise over the past couple of years, so that we can continue to get those 5th, 6th, and 7th graders active in their summer. We also had an increase in our volleyball and wrestling camps this year, which was great to see as well. All enrichment courses were 3 weeks in length, ending on June 26th, except for those junior high enrichment courses. Those 46 students who were attended there, they stayed the whole 4 weeks. Here's the full statistics you can see with ESY added on there. So we have the student totals, 455 at Summer Leap, 301 through enrichment, and then 95 for ESY. And then you can see the number of teachers, assistants, office staff, related service members, and then administrators there as well. And just a comparison from last year to this year, about very consistent. The first day of school last summer of 2024 was 748 students. This year it was 755. We did have more students stick around this year with only 88 withdrawals, which was nice to see. And I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Duppa.
Yeah, so all teachers for Summer Leap provided students with individualized feedback through this Summer Leap progress report at the end of summer school. This also included junior high enrichment, sport camps, the IMC. Any student who is eligible for interventions also received at the bottom there the intervention outcomes as well. So whatever they were focusing on, doing varsity tutors, that was included at the bottom there. All right, so some fun things that happened this summer. Well, I shouldn't say fun for safety drills, some important things leading to the fun things, but you know, safety is fun. So we had a bus evacuation drill, we had secure and teach, we had a lockdown and evacuation drill. Both Forest View and Holmes had scheduled Mount Prospect Public Library to come out and visit, and they actually had grade level books that they gave out to our kids. So that was great that they came out. We hosted a Spirit Week, which was Superhero and Princess Day, Sports Day, and Rock Your School Day. Kids were really into all of those. We had our IMC concert. I know Christina Hovland got a shout out already, but that was a fantastic event. I know many people showed up to that. So thank you, Christina. At the last day we had enrichment class presentations in the Holmes LRC. So it was really cool to see. I know Jen Santini was working like, think Netflix, but Kid Flicks, and they were showing their presentations, claymation, Legos, things like that. And then we did have a combined field day. So Forest View and Holmes, since our campuses are so close, you know, the vision was to incorporate 14 different stations. You could see that one of the stations up here was Mount Prospect Fire Department and the police department. I was envisioning, since the littles are at Forest View, kind of a touch-a-truck and Q&A event. And you could actually see Greg Sill at a point was pretty overwhelmed there. He had to, you know, okay, one question at a time type thing there. So we can go next slide. And then there's just more pictures here. I also, for field day, wanted to give a shout out to Elk Grove Park District. They provided a bunch of our carnival games, again, to Mount Prospect Fire and Police Department for coming out. Yeah, and you could just see all the fun the kids had there, and they had ices and stayed cool on that hot day. So
That's great. All right, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Those were some pretty cool slides. We should share them with the fire department and
Oh,
police as well, because I'm sure they're going to be happy to also look at it.
great, we'll do that.
Collaboration.
Okay, moving on to the ESY enrollment process. I apologize in advance if I repeat anything that was said before I came. I'm not sure how much was said already or shared. So it's a requirement for special ed students that are not meeting their goals or retaining the goals that they've met with the end of the school, from the end of the school year to the beginning of the school year. So it's all data-based, and it is for them to receive their FAPE, their free appropriate public education, is determined by the IEP team. So each school's student service teams meet, and this is written into their IEPs. It's not something that's just like you're invited, oh, hey, we've got some extra seats over here. It's not as, you know, light and fluffy as the LEAP program where they have, or the enrichment where they have empty seats to fill. It's part of the IEP process, and it starts getting considered at annual review meetings. So they consider, like I said, the student progress and the regress or recoupment, because when children have the summer loss, having them in school a few extra weeks might help alleviate some of that. But it's very data driven to be placed into the ESY program. Each student has the progress report that is shown on the screen. I hope that you all advanced your slides so that you're there too. And this was provided to the ESY teachers. We didn't call it progress reports. Our everyday term was our cheat sheets, because it was a snapshot of what their goals are that we're working on, and then we're going to capture what we, the point that we got to. So this was given to each ESY teacher, completed by the SST teams at the buildings, case managers most often filling in their sections. There were some instances where other people helped out to capture what needed to be taught during ESY. Staff tracked with progress monitoring and maintaining goals. And then at that point, I sent them all to Ed Services, and they're updated into Embrace so that the upcoming school year, the teachers can see what their children did. So that's a nutshell. Our structure was, we have the whole district come. I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot to click. Sorry. Too many things. I clicked my screen, but not this one. It's my first time here. Could you tell? Okay.
Doing great.
Oh, thank you. He says that to everybody. Students from all the buildings can qualify. And so from early childhood through 7th graders. So rising 8th graders were there from the different programs across the district. So, huge undertaking for the organization, because pretty much everybody that qualifies is in, for lack of a better word, I'll say invited, but it's just because they qualify. Then it's up to their parents to register them, but it's not you're cordially invited. This is your, appropriate education right. We were assigned the students to classrooms based on their IEPs, and we focused on whatever those goals were that were put into those progress reports that were given at the end. The average class size was only 6 children. I'll explain more about staffing.
Can I just ask a question? What
Thanks.
does CCIP mean?
SIP is a program. It's one of the special ed programs.
Cross-categorical instructional program. It's at the junior high level at Friendship.
Thank you. Okay. And so the let's see, where was I? The academics teachers reviewed the IEP, and they build the curriculums based on the students that are in front of them. So it's not, a package deal. It wasn't a, the tutoring program but there were some that I'll mention in a moment. Go ahead. Thank you. I could tell you that, and now I'll forget to do mine. All right. Thank you. Related services, which are the social work, occupational therapy, speech language therapy. I'm sure I missed one. Did I say physical therapy? They're all listed there too. SEL counseling. It's all hands on deck. We've got lots of staff members because these students don't just need, a few minutes of reading or math. We're working on all areas, not just the core academics in ESY. So the functional goals, working on transitions or organizations, materials, and some educational life skills classes were happening there. And that's where the pictures are primarily coming from. A couple slides back, you saw a picture in the kitchen. There were some cooking lessons happening. I know when a couple of board members visited, there were some activities going on, and you visit, I think it was ice cream sandwiches being made, just different things that the students would have life experiences that they might not have otherwise. Statistics. We had 125 students enrolled in ESY. 91 of those students attended at least 8 of the 15 days. So there were, quite a chunk of students that registered and showed up for less than half of our days. And back on slide 7, you don't know if you could do that. It's fine. I'll just tell them. Nope, it's not there anyways. It's somewhere else. I'm sorry. I was thinking that the staff numbers is what I wanted to talk about. We had 21 teachers. So 21 teachers sounds like a lot of teachers I'm getting back.
95.
For 95, yeah, 90, thank you, for 91 students. That sounds like quite a chunk of teachers, but we had to staff for the children that qualified for it. And then if they register, And then if they show up, so some were we had a few late registrants that registered in that week that we were out of school. We just had to be prepared for all to register and come. So I just wanted to draw attention to, yes, 6 students per classroom was our average. We had a heavy staff load, but we were prepared for the masses rather than, other way would be a mess. So back to LEAP for staff feedback.
Okay, so some of the staff feedback that we had collected at the end of the summer, some of the comments were about the organization being very well organized. The kids and even the teachers were very excited to come every day. It was really helpful for us getting everything on one campus because the bus system was just a lot easier, a lot less stressful. Of being able to have, just a certain number of buses come to Forest View, and then once they loaded, then they went to Holmes or vice versa. So that was definitely a plus. The teachers were a lot happier to help to support the bus organization. Another thing that was mentioned is that teachers really enjoyed being able to have the kids grouped on that one campus, but we were like the K-3 building. And because of having more of that central focus on the primary grade levels, we were able to service more kids with intervention and help meet their needs. Another comment was that it was an outstanding summer program. The students felt really comfortable while they were at Holmes, even though, maybe they were not ready for the junior high just yet. So I thought that was a plus. And one of the other things that we had gotten up from our feedback from previous years is that families had felt that they wanted more communication with the teachers. So this year, we asked all the teachers to send home a weekly newsletter and include some pictures to engage the families more and encourage them to check out that newsletter. And it kind of just blossomed from there. The teachers felt even more connected to families than they had ever felt in the past because that communication opened up the doors and the pathways for them to talk to the families. Families could reach out and ask questions. So just lots of positive feedback all around for this summer.
That's the perfect segue to parent feedback. I'm just going to read the first two. Awesome summer program, and I didn't write these. Awesome summer program, very well managed. Students have learned and benefited from this program. I think this year was the best year yet. Teachers were super engaging with the kids with so many things to learn and sending the weekly updates. My child really enjoyed going every day. Great job to the team for the great experience. So right there, perfect segue
Those
to.
are the ESY parents.
Yeah, there were all parents, and there was a total of 115 parents that filled out the survey. So a great response for that.
Yeah.
That's really good for a survey. So, any questions?
I just think the course offerings that you guys had for the enrichment, that was fantastic. We've got many talented teachers. They did classes that were of their interest, and I'm hoping that's only going to grow. But we had a huge list, so that was great. So thanks. And then I had a question. So for the summer LEAP progress reports, now do the teachers do that during paid plan time? Is that just part of their duty, or are they compensated extra for that?
Teachers are paid 30 minutes plan time a day.
Okay.
So they have students for 4 hours and they're paid for 4.5 hours
cool,
a day.
Cool. And then one last question. Did any of you participate in the Rock Your School Day? Did anyone do that? Okay.
I got a bunch of homes here.
I can't choose. I have no favorites in the district.
Gotta have Brandon bring the camera next time. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have just 2 questions. I just wondered, are there progress reports from summer school shared with classroom teachers, like in the subsequent school year, if applicable?
They are sent to the schools, and the schools can have them available for teachers.
Okay, and my second question was, is varsity tutors available to families over the summer? Like if they weren't in this program, like was that an option?
Yes, it was made available over the summer for families who were already using it, who are already utilizing varsity tutors as an option.
Okay. If a parent just asked, like, I want to sure my kids, are doing something over the summer, could they have access to varsity tutors even if they didn't necessarily meet the criteria for needing intervention?
Yes. So what we like them to do is reach out to the school's principal, and the school's principal will determine what is it the goals they need to work on, because we need to make sure that we put goals in, they meet the criteria. But there's also so many courses and classes that they could take that could be of great interest to them also. It is a resource that has, you name it, coding and gardening and whatever foreign languages that they could
That's great.
participate in as well. So there's the on-demand, there's courses they can sign up for, and the principal can help figure out with the grade level team, if they need academic support, what those goals would be.
And it's all paid for?
Yes,
Like,
paid before. by-
even if it's enrichment type
yes,
of?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's great. I hope everybody knows about that.
Yeah, so even if they're not, if they don't necessarily need like extra help classroom level, they can still go on there and get like all of these really cool enrichment
Yes.
courses. There's a
I would have
lot
been
of
all over
stuff.
that if
Yeah.
my kids had that.
There's a lot of stuff for them to do. So
And it just helps. There's a lot of other free stuff out there, but it helps to know that we've already vetted this and know
mhm.
it's a good product.
All right, so here's a review from a parent who had their kid in summer enrichment and LEAP. It was so cool. It was so much better than years past, I must say. We've stuck with it. The past, I want to say that my younger one's been in it for like 3 years, I think. That would put us back almost to COVID, right? And yeah, I mean, having the teachers communicate, huge difference. Huge difference. Me being able to know what she did during the day so I could hold her accountable at home was like a game changer. And then the enrichment was just super fun, getting to hear what my older one, learned during the day. And we got to go see some Kid Flicks videos, and the library was there the day we went. So yeah, I just really appreciate that we can offer this, and I'm so happy that we have such a good showing. So hopefully more people will participate there.
And we do take your feedback and put it into action.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah, I
we have
appreciate that.
suggestions. We're ready to, we want it to be the best for all. So
Yeah.
thank you. We appreciate it.
Perfect
I was really
into my
pleased.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I was just going to echo and say I was really pleased going. It was a wonderful experience. And I want to say again, thank you to all the teachers and administrators who worked a portion of their summer to make sure that our kids are starting in a good spot. One niche question, double accelerated math, is that a requirement for students who are enrolling in double accelerated, or is it just enrichment?
No, it is not a requirement. It's we offer an iReady or an IXL pathway. Also, if families can't make it to that class and still want to participate and kind of sharpen their skills, but even if a child does not participate in any of that, they are already ready for that 7th grade math class.
Gotcha.
So we know that even if they do nothing over the summer, they're ready to learn in the fall. This is just extra.
Okay. There's nothing like that for like an accelerated English or anything like an accelerated?
No,
English?
because our advanced ELA classes at the junior high really are at grade level, just going into further depth and complexity. So it's not like math where you're skipping a whole set of standards.
So the feedback was a great leeway towards my question. I was curious if we have any feedback from parents in comparison to previous years, which I think a little bit you alluded to, that it leaps and bounds. But if we have anything else that we're tracking, that'd be great to take a look.
Yeah, and we did have parents in the survey say, this has been the best year yet, or this, we've seen improvements. So yeah, it's good. It's good to hear and good to see that the changes we're putting into place are being noticed and appreciated.
I think the numbers go almost getting cut in half for the kids who did not end up finishing. I think that's a good indicator
That
too.
by itself is a
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right, thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you.
All right, next is monthly updates. Dr. Bresnahan.
All right. So I think we are going to be wrapping up our 4th week of school already. So there's been a lot that's been happening. All right. So, some great news to share from our first slide. So, at our joint annual conference this year, which our board members are all invited to attend, District 59 is going to be jointly presenting with District 21. We were selected to present on our shared safety efforts that we implemented last year with our shared director of safety position. So, Dr. Ossel, Director Malik, and myself, as well as Dr. Connolly from 21, will all be presenting at a session on Saturday of the joint conference. So excited for that. We've also received notice, Dr. Perdomo received notice just this last week that we were selected to give a keynote presentation by the National Association of English Learner Program Administrators, also known as the NABE conference, and it's for the exemplary implementation of our English learning program. So a focus on our dual language efforts. So that will be on February 9th. So Dr. Perdomo, myself, and Ms. Savage will be presenting the keynote at that conference. Excited for that opportunity and to really celebrate the progress of our multilingual programs. Strategic plan that we've continued to be working on as we are in the 5th year of that 5-year plan. We have our presentation that will be coming up at our next board meeting on September 30th, working with our consultant as well as with our team to really produce a final document that highlights and showcases the accomplishments and work ahead from the strategic plan that was implemented. And then I do just want to continue to highlight that we are placing a strong emphasis on student attendance this year. So you're going to see lots of social media posts. You're going to see different tips and strategies shared out with our families in our district newsletters. Thank you to Dr. Ossel and her team, and then coordinating with our communication department with Rachel to make sure that we're really providing some strategies and supports. And then to our school teams who are already working with their staff internally to monitor, to support, to identify, to find out why our students who aren't coming regularly, why is that the case, and how do we better support them, because attendance matters.
Question, just for the past 4 weeks, have you seen an improvement compared to last year? Or is it
we
so
haven't
hard?
yet done a side-by-side comparison in terms of that, but we will be monitoring that one as one of our goal areas to see. All right, moving on, assessment and accountability. So we have completed our fall benchmarking for grades 1 through 8. We have our new Spanish reading assessment that was being implemented just this year, and that it will be completed on September 12th. Kindergarten, based on our feedback from our kindergarten team, got pushed back a little bit. So you'll notice that they will not complete their fall benchmarking until the 19th. And then if you'll notice, it's a very tight turnaround due to the movement of what was our October regular meeting got kind of pushed back because of the holiday. So we are going to be meeting September 30th. So we may not be able to get the data as far in advance to the board because we want to make sure we have all of the data to present to you. So just be on the lookout for that. And thank you to Tom for putting all of that together. And then we will have that to share at that September 30th meeting. Tom, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just based on that, the 19th really, the goal is to get it to the board a week in advance. I don't think we'll be able to, we have basically one day to put all the data together, which is often 50 to 60 slides. So I would guess by the end of that week in advance of the board meeting, we'll have that in your hands, but just didn't want you to be expecting it. Not purposeful, but we're excited about that kindergarten move. So we'll make it work.
And then just to note that we are still awaiting the official results from IAR and ISA because of the changes in the cut scores. And we are excited to see, we've done some preliminary based on what those new cut scores are. So excited to see what that looks like in comparison to the state.
Sorry,
Yep.
to interrupt. When do we normally, because we just got the spring, right? And then the winter we get in the spring?
Spring was delayed. We didn't present that out until July or August.
Right. Well, I'm at like, is it, if we want a more.
So normally at least on the IAR side, that's connected to the school report card, which is released October 30th. And then normally the following board member meeting after that, we share that with an update on school report card state accountability data.
I'm saying like, are you okay if we do it in November instead of September? Because we have the law, I'm sure it's going to be lengthy, the presentation about what do we normally do?
The benchmark report? I mean, we could push it back.
Strategic plan will be long, they're just saying.
I would imagine. So we'd have that plus the benchmarking. Do we want to do the benchmarking? I would assume it's the second week in November.
We could,
We can certainly do that. I think normally we don't share that data out with the staff until we share it with the board. I guess I'd appreciate permission to be able to share it with the staff and the administrators in advance, just so they have the report, and then officially do it with once it's ready, we'll share it with the board and then
Yeah,
share
we'll
it with
take it
the
as soon as it's
community
ready.
in November. That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then that will be combined also with our report card, our state report card data, which comes out at the end of October. Okay, so we'll schedule that for the
Okay,
November
perfect.
meeting.
And can I just have one request while we're talking about benchmark? If the benchmark report could include the previous fall, I think I'd asked for that last time, and you did eventually get it to us, but if it could just be part of the
It was
report.
Historically, we do fall to fall.
okay.
With the fall, I think there was a spring request that we added in last spring. So
Okay.
yeah, it'll be there.
Okay.
Professional learning is well underway. So we have district professional learning times, which happen on those Wednesday early release times. So when our students go home early, that's an opportunity for teachers to continue their professional learning. And then once a month, we have district-wide PLTs. So in August, we focused on some safety and an update on our Crisis Go. And then September, we focused on professional learning around our device refresh. And then we are planning for our October District Institute Day, which will take place on October 13th. Business services, you're going to hear a bunch through discussion and other items. So I just threw a couple items up here. Transportation, we have as a discussion item later today, but I am happy to report that we are, we try to look at that 95%, like is 95% of our transportation running well, and really it is. And anything that lies outside of that, whatever is, happening as more frequent issues with late buses or things like that, we do monitor and track that, and then we are trying to be very proactive in our communication with families. Start of the year is always a more difficult time, but we're seeing things level off in a positive direction. Construction projects, we are continuing punch list items and wrap-up items over at Brentwood. So we are hoping to plan a ribbon cutting and open house opportunity probably in the maybe October timeframe, so that the public can come in and see that building. And then the ELC, which had a major overhaul of their entire HVAC system. As you know, HVAC takes a long time to calibrate. So we continue to do that and monitor those results. Albert Tiarina has done an amazing job with a very heavy workload this summer, navigating both of these substantial projects. So it was great to see both of those buildings open on time for our students and staff.
How is the HVAC working? Luckily the weather's been pretty good, but is the air conditioning on? Is it working?
Yes. There are days when the temperatures rise. So for example, we had reports that, we had certain classrooms that hit over 74 degrees. It's really difficult because temperature is a very personal thing. I love 74 degrees, but Mr. Ludloff would totally disagree with me on that one. And if I am freezing right now, and he's probably quite comfortable in this room. So we do have parameters that we try to monitor. When the building starts, we see any spaces rise over 74 degrees, our building principal reports that to our director, Albert, and then he contacts Train, and I can look literally minute by minute what the temperatures are throughout the building. So we do have a way to go in and make sure, but it is generally, there's tweaking that needs to happen, but overall it's been running well, and it's been much cooler than in years past.
How old is the ELC? Is that like 9 years old?
Year 11.
Oh, you're
11 years
okay.
old.
And they had issues with the HVAC?
Since the start, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's simply wrong system.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, curriculum and instruction. So as one of our major priority areas, we are in year 3 of our literacy implementation, seeing really positive progress moving forward in that direction, as well as, we did last year developing our kindergarten reimagining action plan. So that is already being implemented and underway. Grateful for both of those groups under Ms. Savage's leadership for really putting a concentrated effort in both of those areas. Kindergarten through 5th grade PE is also in their cycle for review. So that team of teachers is working under the direction of it's Ms. Benages this year, right? Who's providing some central office leadership under the instruction department for that team. Excited about that work. And then we are continuing our articulation with our local districts and District 214 around that mathematics articulation and seeing positive progress there. So we really, when we talk about double acceleration, we're talking about pathways, and what we do here impacts what students are able to do once they get to the high school. So that articulation really is a positive thing for all of us as school districts. And our TDP, our talent development program, really did a review process last year and is now beginning to implement their initiatives. And this year they're focusing on a new math curriculum pilot. It's called M Cubed, called Mentoring Mathematical Minds. So excited about what they will study and learn from that pilot.
And then Dr. Bresnahan for the Metro Chicago Mathematics, do they have trainers that come out from there to help?
Yeah, I'll let Ms. Savage provide some more details on that.
Yes, so we have our trainers from from that group, the MCMI group. They come out and they facilitate it, but the leaders get together. So the math leaders across the different sending schools in the district discuss the focus. I did provide a board update, and the focus for this year is really zoned in on algebra. Really making that the laser-like focus, like what is the vision around algebra? How are we assessing? How are we teaching? And standards alignment around algebra. So that's sort of like that benchmark sort of course. So that's the focus this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then we were asked by a board member about how our new junior high schedule is going. And so we are very grateful. It was a lot of work through the spring and through the summer for our junior high team. So Mr. Alloway can attest to that, who is sitting out there. So a lot of undertaking by all of the teams, but we're hearing a lot of positive feedback so far. However, we are looking at giving it time to take hold, even tweaks as students benchmarking happens. There's a lot of scheduling modifications for their seminars and for the students to make sure that they're getting what they need. And so we have a formal process that Ms. Savage and that committee have put together so that they will be gathering feedback throughout the first semester and then meeting in December to do a formal review, really what's working, what's not, what needs to be tweaked or modified so that we can continue to make improvements on that schedule. Ms. Savage has a whole outline of what that process will look like throughout the year, and will be providing that to the board in the weekly update to come. And just as a reminder, it really was a co-led initiative with our junior high teachers, as well as some of our administration, and strong participation by our building leadership to really put together a schedule that met students' needs while also worked to support the needs of the staff as well. So excited for seeing that continue to be in practice.
I just have a question. We've heard from a few parents that were concerned about the shorter lunch period. Is that going to be part of your review, just to kind of look and see how that's going?
Yes, so we've actually already started to observe how's it going and see. We have that process for people to give some suggestions to it. Right now, I will share that what we're seeing initially and what I'm hearing from teachers and from the building administrators, because we do have the 2 periods per lunch now, there are way less students in the cafeteria. And so that the speed and the process.
You make up time with that.
Yes, and the overall ambiance in the lunchroom has sort of settled down quite a bit. So there's been some very positive feedback so far around that, but we're keeping our eye on it, seeing how it goes, but yes.
And I believe, Susan, just to clarify for parents that are listening, there was not a substantial decrease to our number of minutes that we have had over the past, at least time that I have been.
There was
since I've been
a
here.
little bit, but not significantly, considering the number of students who had to filter into the lunchroom on a short amount of time between the periods that are circling our lunch blocks. So it's an actual amount of time, but it is not significantly different from years prior. But the number of students in the lunchroom is.
So when you look at it, it's only 19 minutes. And we know that state law says 20 from the time that they get their food if they have to line up. Are we counting then the passing periods as part of those minutes to equal that 20?
No, there's 3 minutes on either side.
Right. So are we considering that as part of the 20? Even though it says 19 minutes is lunch.
I would say
but then you're adding in those up to 6 minutes.
Extra.
That's where it's 25 technically.
Yes,
Okay.
technically, yes. Depending on where they are in the building. And what I heard from principals just this week is they're getting through the lunch line extremely quickly, and that sort of the amount of time they have to eat. Some principals shared that many students are able to go back, get additional snacks. So there really isn't a lot of rushing, and they see a really big difference with the number of kids in there. That was one of the major drivers from the committee, was insisting that we have 2 lunch periods, 2 students, so that groups.
And I just have another comment about, my understanding is there's a 19-minute math period, like additional math period. I'd really like to understand how, if it's not successive, I'd like to understand how that's utilized effectively in only 19 minutes.
Yes, so we actually met in the spring. So Michelle Benages met with all of the math teachers, and all the teams got together and they created multiple options for how we break apart our math block. So the components of illustrative math and how we teach and how they are very used to teaching prior. So we have our, all those pieces that we have: warm up, activity, synthesis, cool down. So the teacher teams came up with options for, if you have 19 minutes before, here's how you could block it. If you have 40 minutes later in the day, here's how it would look. So there are actually multiple options depending on the flow of the lessons and how they go. We'll have to keep a close eye on it and see how it's going. What I'm hearing so far is that it really works well when it's 40 and then 19 later. That flow seems to be the most natural. However, in talking to some math teachers, they said we have to get used to it. We really are just getting started with our routines for this year with the new split block. But yeah, we're definitely keeping our eye on that, because that was one piece. We wanted the additional minutes for math, and this is the way that we had to allocate it to make it work with the other drivers with the schedule. And it's interesting because I don't know how to describe it. It's like, as soon as you make an adjustment somewhere based on some other request, something else pops up as a concern. So trying to meet these drivers, that's where this came from, is getting those additional minutes. And the minutes came from our teacher committees. We did a minutes analysis. What do we need? What do we want? And then we'll kind of monitor it from now.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the ELA block successive, or is that ever split up?
It's sometimes split up. The goal is that as much as possible, it's together. However, sometimes it's not possible based on teacher assignments, staffing, elective options, etc., the way the schedules work out of the building. So not in every case, but in many cases they are together, or, back to back.
Just when they're not, I just want to understand the impact and whatever we can do to prevent that.
Yep, that's a great question. So that's something we don't really like to see split blocks as much as possible. However, they are a frequent component of schedules, no matter what buildings you're in and what district, based on the context of the district and the offerings that you want to have for all. So then sometimes that has to happen based on how we're configured. And remembering also that the size of homes and the size of, let's compare Elk Grove, are so different. We're trying to come up with as much consistency as possible and experiences that are equitable for students. And with those variants in sizes, sometimes you're going to get some anomalies in how they can actually build that schedule out. And facilities as well, just some needs and buildings and sizes. Yep, all of these things, it's quite a complex puzzle, there's no doubt.
All right, moving on in human resources. So we have our new teacher network. So our staff that are spearheading that are 2 new full-time certified staff members who really have overseen that and started that professional learning back in August when we did our kickoff with our new staff. They continue to support them throughout the year. So there was some professional learning on just the evaluation plan and making sure they felt supported and prepared for that piece, as well as just doing those check-ins with the mentor teams that are also supporting new staff throughout the buildings, and then just getting out and being in the schools and checking in with those new staff to make sure they feel welcome and have a place to get their questions answered. Our administrators and certified professional goal setting meetings are required by law to take place by October 1st. So that is our deadline, and we accomplish that every year. We have over 350 professional goals that have already been drafted and within our system that we use for our evaluation. And then staffing for 25-26, regardless of our, we have a small number of vacancies still out there for some of our harder to fill positions, but we have coverage and support in place for every single staffing area that we need to, and we continue to hire, as always, our teacher assistant positions, which is always a great area of need for all districts, really. In student services and support, we have some of our great traditional annual events coming up. We have our Fall Festival, which is going to take place here at our ad building on September 20th from 10 to 12. I hope we get to see all of our board members there and many of our staff and our families. It's always a fun event. We are also preparing this year for the first time. We are consolidating and unifying our safety week for all of our schools that will occur between September 22nd and 26th. That's when all of those fun things that Mr. Duppa talked about, bus evacuation drills, our fire drills, all of those things happen. So you'll see that in our district newsletters, and we're really trying to emphasize safety and putting a district-wide focus for that particular week, which is really unifying some of our resources across our communities, which is we anticipate being very positive. Quaver Ready, which is our SEL curriculum resource. We started using that last year with very positive reviews from our elementary group. It is now available for our junior high, as we had reported previously. So now kindergarten through 8th grade will be using that unified resource to support social emotional learning. PLC Plus, that is our professional learning communities initiative. So we are in year 2 of working with that, and we are identifying our in-district trainers so that they will be able to support our lead activators and our teams throughout the district, and we'll continue that professional development over the next coming years with that goal area. Youth Safety and Mental Wellness is going to be a new committee under Dr. Assel's leadership. So she has put out an interest form for any staff that are interested in serving on that committee and supporting our youth safety and mental well-being. And then another shout out to Dr. Assel and Mrs. Senni, who were both chosen to present through National Pathfinders. They did a virtual presentation where they had the opportunity to share District 59's best practices for evaluating intervention system effectiveness. So just a great opportunity to showcase the work of our MTSS programs here in 59 and the wonderful work that they do under their leadership. And last but not least, technology and innovation. So a lot of opportunities and excitement. It's always great when we're walking out in the buildings, and I think we were just at John Jay and they're like, oh, the 3rd graders just got their new tablets, and very excited how proud they walk around the hallways with them. So excited about all the work that our tech team has done under Mr. Gray's leadership to roll out a tremendous amount of devices this year. With that, we also rolled out the securely home filtering opportunity. So that has been implemented, and we have, I believe, at maybe just over 200 families that have already signed up to get that. And with that, they get reporting, like weekly reporting on their filtering at home. So that was a request and some feedback, and we are excited that we were able to offer that. At the Fall Fest, we are going to have a tech table to offer supports for any families that have questions or need assistance with either that at-home piece or just to get to know the devices and how they function. And then we are planning a separate family tech support evening in October, so stay tuned for more information on that. And in terms of supporting our staff, Mr. Gray and our expanded, now we have 2 innovation coaches. They've been going out, and either during PLT time or team meeting times throughout September, they are working out with staff to really help support them getting to know the tablets and how to utilize all their new functionality in the classrooms. And then in October, we are planning for that professional learning opportunity for the district-wide learning time. And then our coaches, those 2 coaches are also out there doing individual sessions. They ran some over the summer and now are out in buildings. And so there's over 50 plus sessions that they've already scheduled with staff to support them and their learning. And that is all I have to report.
Can I ask if the family support evening, is that part of like the family education series? Is that coming back this year? Is that something
It's separate
we're
from
doing?
that,
Separate?
but yes, we are also planning our family education series that we did last year. So that is coming as well. This will be a separate evening as well to support with just a focus on technology. So lots of opportunities for families to come out. They'll be hosted at our schools once again, and excited to be able to collaborate with our families and support them.
I'd just like to give a shout out. I've heard some very positive feedback on the new devices and their translating capabilities, that it's much easier, much better. So just wanted to share that. And also a request, could the school board possibly have a table at the Fall Fest? I think that would
I'm going to
help with our initiative.
look over at Ashley and Dr. Assel.
It would be great. After the celebration of cultures, I'm all into having a table.
I'm sure we can arrange for a table.
Yeah, you know what? I just think even though we're happy to be there and walk around, people don't really know who we are. It just,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a table, but some sort of a way for interactions with the community, right?
well, so they'll know that it's us, and
How about a hat with like a, flag?
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, there's one other thing, right, for under you?
Yes, actually, Tom is going to be presenting on a board request for our pre-ACT, pre-SAT student data.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. So yes, we did receive a request on the high school placement exams. So I put a few slides together. This is something, honestly, I don't think we've shared in the past. So hopefully this meets the needs of the board. So
But this is clearly like information that is, it's our students, many of who've been here their whole K through 8. So I think it's important, and it actually follows them into high school. It's what's used to place them in their classes, or it's a component of that, and it's a precursor to the actual tests that they will take for college entrance. So I was the one who requested it, and I just think it's something we should always be adding to annually. Just take a look.
yeah, I think,
So I appreciate it.
From my perspective, we don't get much out of this data because it really is meant for the high school. The kids are already gone once it becomes available to us. And I'll go through this.
I hope we would reflect on it because it's a reflection of the education that we've provided our
Sure, we
students.
always look at the data. We'll go through the slides.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I just want to stress why I think it's important.
So it is for 8th grade students, and it's meant as a high school placement piece. They take it in the fall, usually October, November. I believe our students from Elk Grove who go to Elk Grove High School, Prospect High School, or Rolling Meadows High School will have this on the 25th of October. It's a Saturday test. It's about 3.5 hours long. Starting last year, it was the pre-ACT. That was a shift at the state level. So kids in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade in high school take the ACT as part of the accountability system. Our kids take IAR, they take ACT. So really they are lining with that piece. In the past, it was the pre-ACT, the PSAT, I should say. So that shift really relates to, there's a state level contract of, I think it's about $54 million for 6 years to deliver that test across all of Illinois.
So just preliminary, about 10 years ago, there was a shift over to SAT, and now it has shifted back to ACT.
So there was an 8-year contract
Okay.
with PSAT that just ran out, and then they went through the procurement process and moved to ACT. Great. So this, their data hasn't, at least that I could find on the 214 website. This is the info from last year, just part of the FAQ, really focusing in on this second item. Why is this important? So this really, as was already mentioned, helps place kids in classes at the high school level. I did meet with the director of research and evaluation in 214 just to confirm that piece and learn a little bit more of how kids are placed, so if they score at a certain level on this test, it really can get them into advanced classes or a standard class, or identify kids for some extra help potentially as they move forward. We also have a role in the spring. We usually meet with each of the high schools and go over, especially kids that you would say would be borderline with the data, and they'll talk, and teachers often can share more about kids' needs or what they're able to show. Oftentimes we'll hear this is a Saturday morning one-time test. This is a paper and pencil test, so very different for our kids. Yes, is what meant. It's a fill in the, so it's a unique kind of different type of thing. So oftentimes our teachers will have a lot more info to walk through and talk about kids and what they're able to do. Just threw a couple slides together just to build a little perspective of the piece. This is probably the big piece. So, oops, sorry. I don't know why. Well, so if you look at the one on my right, basically the pre-ACT is English, math, reading, and science. You can see they have about a half an hour to answer a number of questions and move through that piece. This is paper and pencil. Once they get to high school, it actually moves electronic and online and then is adaptable. This is obviously can't be adaptable when it's paper and pencil. They get a score of 1 to 30, and really it's tied to, it's basically the ACT just for a younger level. I did throw the old PSAT, similar, it was just reading, writing, and math. Kids had a couple hours to do about 100 questions. These are the results of the two tests. So the top piece, hopefully, there we go, is last year's PSP pre-ACT. I included District 214's results along with our results. Part of our agreement with District 214, so they have a data sharing agreement with all the sender schools. They allow us to access this data. We don't get this data. So they give us access to this data, but the agreement is we can't share other districts' data, only the aggregate for 214. So obviously we can share our own data. You can see this first is the overall, so that's all kids. And then I included a number of those different demographic, race and ethnicity groups and how we compare. The bottom piece is the year prior, or 2 years ago, the PSAT results. You can see the scoring is quite different. You go from basically a 1 to 30 to, I believe this goes up to 750 for each area, and then you get a combined score and see how that breaks out across those same areas. Go ahead.
Is this test, is this what a junior in high school would take? Okay, so you're testing 8th graders.
So 8th graders are taking the pre-ACT, 11th grader would be taking the ACT, but it's the exact, basically, test structure, format, questions.
But it's not the same test, Sarah, if that's what you're asking. It's not saying how would you do it.
No.
It's brought down to the
yes,
standards.
they have the different levels of the test. One of the things, though, and it'll be on one of the slides, they talk about this as exposure for kids to get used to that test and format over time, and it gives you a place to start. So, as of going into freshman year, this is where they are at, or how do they score over those next 3 years?
So we could almost say, with all things held equal, that with the same level of everything, right? Those should be the same, because the level of test is changing between the 8th grade versus the 11th grade.
Yeah, the difference is this max score is 30 versus the max score on the 11th grade test is 36. So they bring some of the pieces down. That, at least to my understanding, as we don't deliver this test, I do not know it the way we would see some of our different pieces. Other questions related to this?
I think it would be interesting to see how this in general just compares to our IAR or iReady. I know they may be measuring different things, but I hope there's some consistency here and that we see just similar patterns between our demographic groups. I know that it's not here, but I just think it's something interesting to look at.
Yeah, I think the struggle to make the comparison. So I actually learned this from Jeff Free-Smith. He's the director of research and evaluation in 214, that this really, and then studying a little bit, they generate their own curriculum in a sense. This is a college and career ready test. So it's not tied to IR standards, state standards, Common Core, or any of those assessments. It's really something they've generated based on the ideas you score at a certain level on this, you'll likely be successful in college and career. So trying to tie them together when they're disconnected that way is difficult. I think, do we want to see growth over time as we see growth on our IAR or ISA tests? That's the nice part about from my view, the move to the ACT. We really have very specifics to reading, math, and science versus much broader on the PSAT. So that's something we can start to look at. Just wanted to provide a history over time on the PSAT. So you can see it's connected to graduation year when they're assessed. The different results over time were at the top, but District 214's at the bottom. You can see how that swings, goes up and down. Remember, this is just for 8th graders, so it's a really unique group of kids every single year.
So the year in parentheses, that would be the year when they entered the school, or
Yeah, so this was the last year it was given. That was 2 years ago here. 8th graders in 2023-24 in District 59. Their graduation year from
high school.
District 214 would be 27-28.
Thank you.
Oh, great question. One thing, at least as we look at this data, and something I want to keep in track of anyway, is to remember how our demographics compare to District 214 as a whole, or to the other sender school districts, because it's we are a very unique area and communities. And we know these types of tests, oftentimes there's questions about the impact on either second language learners or low income learners and the things that go with that. So I provided this as a reference piece. You can see it's quite a swing in the sender schools from, if you look at our low income numbers, they're the highest, and at least this is on the school report card, so I can share this data. Compared to the lowest just down the street in District 57, from 60, basically 5% to 5%. So it's quite the swing. We know that impacts data. So obviously, as we look at that, we keep that in mind. We have very high expectations. I would not expect District 59 to be at the District 214 average, just based on our demographics. But obviously, we'd love to see that and want to see that grow. Last piece, I threw this, went on ChatGTP and said, hey, give me the positives of pre-ACT and give me some criticisms, and did a much better job than me spending 10 hours doing it. So I think those questions, there's some questions about bias. I don't know, Ben. We need a new one of these. I'm pointing this way and it's showing up here. So a positive is a chance for kids to take the test. Knowing this is high stakes, especially down the road in high school, to get exposed to that gives a standard of where they're starting. Where will they be in 2 or 3 years? At the same time, it doesn't give us a lot of very specific data to how the kids are doing in relation to our curriculum. It does inform course placement, which is super helpful at the high school level, obviously, because they have so many different levels, such large schools. It's something kids can manage. It's not, they say it's not high stakes. I wonder about a 8th grader on a Saturday morning taking this test, knowing it might put me in an advanced class or not. But I know our schools do a great job of really building some capacity of the kids, keeping them calm. Go and just do your best, those types of things. I thought this was interesting on, again, my right. This is directly from the pre-ACT website. So, hey, it gives you accurate scores, can predict the future of college planning and preparation. It gives kids a chance to practice. As we know, some people pursue lots of support for kids who do practice tests and all those things. Some kids don't get that. At least they get that through the high school piece. They see some schools that adopt the pre-ACT. They see some improved readiness. Does help identify kids, whether that's for advanced placement or placement in classes, and gives them a baseline of where they're starting. So all those seem to align. 214, I think, has done a nice job, at least in my understanding of this isn't the be all end all, but it certainly is a driver in that process. And just a few things, yeah. College and career, absolutely. Absolutely. So just a few things of how, so again, we use it. We work with 214. In the spring, they meet with schools and administrators and staff and really look at kids and help with placement. One nice part also for kids to take this assessment, they actually have to start the registration process for high school. So that process kicks off, I think, October 1st, gets kids exposed to and actually into the school. I know lots of kids go to their school for other reasons, but they actually get in the school and get exposed exposed to that. And then we do look at this data usually in the summer once it's available and do some of those comparisons, look for trends. And periodically, not every year, 214 offers that brings the sender districts together, and we'll dig into data and talk about some different things. An interesting piece, kind of my final point, Elk Grove High School a few years ago adjusted their process, at least on the advanced placement side. So basically, almost all kids are in a standard class. I'll put it that way. That could be wrong. But they can earn AP advanced credit by doing the work in the class. So they have a much higher percentage of kids who get advanced credit than in some schools, other schools in 214, you have to qualify on the front end. So you have to hit that score to be able to access that. Where at Elk Grove, more kids have opportunity and more kids are earning that, which is kind of neat. And something we need to learn more about as we go through that process. But it was something Jeffrey Smith shared with me in our meeting.
And I had a chance to go to my junior who attends Elk Grove High School, and one of the teachers during his presentation said, "Here, look at how much money I'm saving you." Was in there for taking the AP classes and getting the college credit. So,
it makes it. Yeah, you learn of kids who can take a year off of their gen eds by those opportunities.
2 quick questions. If our kids miss the Saturday date, someone tracks them down.
So they have a makeup. There's 2 dates. Now, if kids miss both the original and the makeup date, I'm not sure how they manage that piece. I'm assuming, again, they're part of our discussion process, but I'm not aware of a third opportunity.
Can I just ask one question on slide 6? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this data. So I'm looking at like the first chunk on the top, where you have D59 and the D14 and then the subcategories.
Yes.
So the pre-ACT is out of 30, you said?
Yes.
And then are these scores from 214 then out of 36?
No,
Okay.
no. So the scoring level is 1 to 30. It's just for 214. It's their aggregate of all kids that took that assessment as 8th graders going into this school year, compared to District 59's kids.
And so you can't report out on how other districts are doing.
I cannot share
But this
that data.
it is otherwise somehow available from District 214 to see how other districts are doing.
So they actually give us access to their assessment database, and it allows us to look at data for our kids, our schools, and those other schools, but it's not information we can share.
Okay, so if we wanted to see that, we would have to FOIA that, or could you share it just with the board?
I'd have to, my understanding is so if I put that together and share with the board now, it is available that anyone listening could say, this will be easy, I can do that. And then we're in violation of that sharing agreement. I know we learned through this process, 214 does not share this data with their board. It's an internal thing to place kids in class. So I'd want to be really careful of putting that piece together and not violate our agreement.
Sure, but saying if I just as an individual wanted to see it, I could FOIA it from 214.
You could. I believe, and I know it's been a while since I worked with FOIA. So my old understanding of FOIA is, hey, I want access to this information. I think the response would be, we do not have that information in a document to give it to you, because you'd have to go into the system, run a report, pull that data together, produce do work to provide that for you.
I mean, I've seen it several years ago, somebody FOIA'd it and I've seen it. And so but I'm guessing they did that through 214 directly.
I think that would best be answered by District 214.
Yes, that's all I'm saying. I just think it would be helpful to see.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next for us, we have our consent agenda. Let you get ready. You're ready? Okay, so this would be for items 6.01 through 6.05. If I could have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any questions? Comments? Okay, if not, can we do a roll call vote?
All right. Bookler,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Eddie, I, Johnson,
Aye.
Kitzinger,
Aye.
Notini,
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. No action items, so we can go to discussion items. 7.01 is Discussion about preparing the tax levy and setting a date.
Good evening.
Hi.
One of the most important function for the chief school business official for any school district is to make sure the levy is done accurately. The levy for this coming year normally has to get done before end of the year and submitted to the county, state, on our website, everything before the last Tuesday of the month. Unlike all other years, there was 1 year, 5 years ago, where the county was late. This information for the current year's levy or last year's levy or the extension is normally provided to the school district by June, end of June, before the tax bills go out. In DuPage County, that's done in March. So there is already 3 months built in because Cook County is so big. This year, we still haven't heard anything. And the only communication we got was to verify our numbers, that what we reported is what they included in their calculation. So that's accurate. But they also told us 2 things. Don't ask her when will the tax bills go out. And don't ask us how much our extension is. In order for us to come to the board and ask for or estimate what our levy should be, which we are required by law to do it at least 20 days before we take any action, we need to know what is available to us. Because this is late, we are making some changes to our levy calendar. And by folding the public hearing and adoption, we are not doing anything unusual because every single school district, which is a sender district, as well as surrounding school districts, for levy public hearing as well as for budget public hearing, it's usually on the same day. And I don't know what the rationale was. If the rationale was to allow more time, we're already doing a legal notice 20 days ahead of time. And we also do a public display of the budget 30 days. It's more convenient for a taxpayer to come if they have a question on the same night as a public hearing and adoption. So we are switching it because there's a need for it, but to make it easy for people after May, if we can do it on the same night, that would be much better. You probably may not have a second meeting in September because we're doing the budget adoption in September. So I have the before and after levy calendar, and the only thing which is folded is the public hearing and adoption. The action in September is as planned. This discussion as well as the one on September 30th. But the estimate will not be done beginning of October. It will be done close to or end of September. It will be done later, sometimes in October when the estimate is out. If there's no estimate out, we still have to do guesswork and do the best estimate possible. This year's levy is driven based on last year's CPI, which is 2.9. So the only thing we're going to be guessing is going to be new construction as well as last year's extension. And I think with the margin we have with Cook County, we should be okay to make an estimate. But I'd rather wait till we have a better number. But it's not going to create a financial issue for us. So that's the levy. At the next board meeting, we'll be approving the budget. I've added a few more slides. There are no surprises. We have not made any adjustments to the big numbers. Anytime there's a grant information which is formed up, we will do that, but there are no big plans to change anything. So that's going to take place at the next board meeting. The third item, so that's the budget adoption. So one of the things when we do the budget adoption, we also authorize the board. The board authorizes the superintendent designee to start working on next year's budget. And that's an action which normally takes place at this time of the year, or it could be when you're doing the adoption, or it could be slightly after that. But from our perspective, when we are doing the budget for this year, you'll also see projections for the next 5 years. So it's an ongoing and continuous process. In our type school districts, there are many school districts may not do projections, they may do 1 year at a time. And in some cases, they may work on the budget close to summer. Our process is an ongoing and continuous process. So that will be one of the items also. Press update.
Yeah, I'll provide for the press update and then we'll talk about transportation. So press update 119 is there for your review. SLT has reviewed all the items and given their recommendations within it. Most of them are just the annual or semi-annual review of the policies. So if there are any questions, we can have that discussion here. If not, they will be up for adoption at our September 30th meeting.
Okay.
So the next item, transportation. I'm sure all of you guys know about the issues of transportation. Our biggest challenge before the start of the school was, will the bus company be financially able to provide the services? Their challenge is that they have underpriced their product, not necessarily in our school district. We have an attractive rate, but they really, some of the new contracts they signed up in the last 2 years are relatively not recovering the full cost. So that's part of their challenge. They're trying to reorganize, look at some of the accounts and see if they can renegotiate. Our issue is not renegotiation. We are getting a good deal, but it's not underpriced. They're recovering their full money. So our biggest concern was, will the bus company be able to deliver? And fortunately, we had a earlier start, so we saw that transportation was being delivered very well at Ridge School. Then our biggest next concern was, how is it going to be in August, end of August, when all the schools start? And August turned out to be pretty good. In September, we have had 2 days where I would say would get my heightened awareness. One was the one where it was 94.5% as opposed to 95 plus. That was September 2nd. And in all cases, when we look at why the bus is late, it was sub-drivers. And many schools start around that time, September. So what happened is, on the day they were expecting the drivers to show up, those drivers were somewhere else, some other company. Just like instructional assistant, we don't have 100% staffing when it comes to bus drivers many times. They have enough lead time. But if a company, for 2 reasons, one is for competitive to make the other guy look bad, and one for just filling in their position because it takes a long time to get a CDL license. Frankly speaking, if you have had a history of 1 or 2 tickets, chances are you won't qualify over a period of time. So it's very, very challenging getting qualified bus drivers and the standard for safety and all that stuff. So companies find it easier to poach someone else's. And the competing companies are, instead of raising the rates, what they do is sign in bonus. So they've gone as high as 2,000. And our company right now, for retention purpose, is promising everybody a sizable amount, close to 3,000, which really is a big financial challenge for them. So in all our cases, the issues were like on the second was really sub-drivers. Then there was typical day was really less than 10 minutes. That's not an issue. There was one more day where it was like 1.5%. Once again, we want everything to be perfect. But even first student, when they were doing services, I know because I've been dealing with them for close to 40 years, there are always issues where bus drivers may not show up last minute. There are not enough substitute drivers and dispatchers, safety coordinators, everybody's driving the bus. Two schools pulled out just before the start of the school year. In late July, they went to first student, and both those schools, because I spoke to the sender district of those two schools, because the sender district stayed with first student, they regretted making that move to first student. Not that first student is bad service provider, it's just that when we were looking at that option, we were told that there'll be only 13 buses available for us. Even if we do like five-tier busing, it's not possible for us to do that. So it's a challenge. We're dealing with it. If 98, 99% of the buses are on time or within the 10 minutes, before this bell starts, we are not getting overly excited about it. We always want to make sure it's 100%, but it's really not as big an issue as some 1 or 2 bad days. And I want people to be aware of it, because one of the things I want to look at your stuff is we're spending a lot of money on transportation. This is relatively, it gets my attention for 2 reasons. One is how much money? Another one is the growth. Now, if you see the right hand, which is the current, the previous years were all actual. We always spend less than what we budgeted. So I don't expect the numbers you see for the current year to be that high, but that's what's in the budget. The previous years are all actual. It's still quite big amount of money, number one, and it's increasing at a very high rate. The two school districts I mentioned a few minutes ago, they went from $230 per route to $550 per route with first student. We don't have the capacity to go that high in our budget. So we are looking at efficiencies also. We, as a matter of fact, this year, because of the bus driver shortage, consolidated 12 routes to 6 routes by doubling up the routes between middle school or within the, like, you know, I've done that before, where when you give a list of 72 students to the bus company, in reality, just like the airline, when they look at what the probability is. There are usually 20 to 25 students on the bus. So I told Mary that let's significantly increase the count. And if it's, I think there's only one bus where it's hitting 72. Otherwise, it's 2 students to a seat, which is really acceptable. It's a 3-seater. And there are places, the school districts, which have close to 3 students per seat. So my expectation is to look at the transportation budget, even if it's not an issue with Safeway, because we cannot afford this stuff too long. And I know I gave you more information than you wanted to hear about transportation, but from my frame of reference, my objective is going to be to keep us sustainable for a long time. And it's going to be a challenge if we don't address some of our expenditures.
Quick question. Who is supposed to contact families if a bus is late? Is it the district or is it the school?
We are very fortunate that we have people who have the information on their fingertips and are focused on transportation. The weak link we have is when a bus driver does not show up, the dispatcher on their side is driving the bus.
Right.
And the safety coordinator is driving the bus if there's a missing bus driver. So they don't know if a bus driver didn't show up. But we make sure if they are there and they're supposed to notify Mary, and we have a very good system to communicate with parents.
Okay.
But if we don't hear that information, the parents don't hear this information.
Well, right. Because, like, again, first couple days, bus didn't show up for my daughter. I called the bus company, then I called Mary, and then I called the school, but nobody received any communication that the bus was late. So after even I called, there was no additional information sent out. So I just want to make sure that, like, whoever, you know, and at that time, unfortunately, we couldn't find the bus driver. That's what was said. But who ends up making that, you know, call through that automated call saying,
It's our responsibility
okay,
in
as in the
transportation.
district or as in the
In the
building?
district.
Okay.
And the source of information initiates from the bus company. And then we like,
And I think that
hey,
there's
this
a
bus driver
lack
didn't
of-
show up.
Mhm.
We're doubling, and we actually double the routes wherever
Right,
we can
yep.
because we
And
have
that
the
was
database.
great. I received communication when, at least at Holmes, when you guys doubled the bus, which
Mm-hmm.
was nice to get a communication like that, because I don't know if we
Mhm.
ever did before. Yeah, which
Mm-hmm.
is great. Mhm. Right, that it might be a little bit later.
And many schools who don't have the doubling up don't, when they get a bill, that's, the companies are not adjusting. So we, by the way, when we're doubling up, we adjust their bill because they won't, when they give us the bill, we'll make the changes. So that pays for the position till an extent, because I know every bus company doubles up. They do it on their own, but they don't communicate to the school district.
Question on the routes. Who in our district is responsible for setting the bus routes? Because I mean, there might be some opportunities to be more efficient, but at the same time, like someone has to. I'm sure someone has to own it. Because I know in the past I called the bus company and they said call the district.
They are right. We are one of the few school districts, I think, in the area which has our own routing done. I know Schaumburg did the same thing. And the reason it's absolutely essential is, why would you give the checkbook to people who can write the check also? Because they make money based on the number of buses. It's our responsibility to make sure the buses are routed efficiently. So we are doing it. And we'll spend more time on it to make sure the number of riders and all that, so buses are not running empty.
Because there's also a concern on. I've heard from other parents, especially those who go to the different programs, not in their region, and as well as I have my own experience on efficiency, how we pick up and drop off kids, while keeping in mind like there could be a more efficient routes with kids being less on a bus. So, who from our district, if anything, can we ping about it?
Mary is the person who is very involved in the routing.
So she has the responsibility
She has
of doing this.
Exactly. What really happens is, once the system is working, typical routes usually, and I'm doing it from my past experience, usually have 10 to 12 stops per bus. The more stops you put, longer the route becomes. So there is a balance. We are very fortunate. I looked at what we used to measure from the terminal to the drop-off point. And I told Mary, when we're looking at the timing for the buses, we do it from the first student. Because if the terminal is further away, the first student is where we measure. So in most cases, I saw like high end was around 20 minutes, which is really remarkably good. And that does not mean every student is riding for 20 minutes. Now, those are exceptions if you have special need kids who are going to one of the NSSC facility or for residential facility. But our goal is to cut down the riding time, and we have to balance number of stops, because I've worked in situation where a parent would say the bus stop should be outside my driveway, and as soon as the child graduates, they don't want to see the bus near their house. So it's one of those challenges, but I would say we are investing a lot of money on transportation. We want to make sure it improves, but overall, we have a good thing going, frankly speaking, on a relative scale compared to other school districts.
So we need to, this is the last year of the Safeway contract. So we need to go out to bid. When does that, what's the timing on that? And then I have a follow-up question. Seems like we're doing a lot relative to other districts, and costs are only going to go up. Can we start exploring what it might look like if we take more of it in-house, whether we do it by ourselves, or I know some districts run their own bus service, right? And what would the cost savings be? Because obviously if you go out to bid, I know so just like analyzing what that would look like if we were to take more control over it versus continuing to go out to bid for it.
There are some advantages and disadvantages for us owning our own busing service. The biggest advantage is our cost for capital is going to be much, much lower than any bus company because we are a tax exempt and we can borrow or use our resources much more efficiently. Our borrowing cost is significantly lower. So owning the buses is not really challenging. It's staffing. We don't have the core expertise. We have challenged staffing, instructional assistant, which don't require that kind of a license training and I'm not saying they're licensed for instructional assistant. It's just that it's a very intensive. If you get like 2 tickets in 3-4 years, you can't be a bus driver. So it's very difficult getting somebody from scratch to become a bus driver. It takes 3 to 4 months. Having district employee, you're also subject to very different insurance benefit. You're subject to pension obligations, which the bus companies don't have to. And once you assume that responsibility, you cannot replace it because that's one of those legislation. Once you have outsourced, you can continue outsourcing, but once you take in-house, then you can't flip if you made a mistake. So I am one of the things, and I'm a strong supporter of looking at some sort of a hybrid, but it's not going to be immediately. It's a long process. And the hybrid model would be is you own your own buses. So you're controlling your fleet. Look for service provider, which will give you the buses, which will maintain the buses for you. And there's one school district in this area, and there are 800 and some school districts and 144 in this area. One school district has that hybrid model, and I looked at it 5-6 years ago because I'm also frustrated every time when we get a rate increase. It's not 2-3% like CPI. It's sizable, and that one school district is Willowbrook High School, and the name of the company is Cottage Hill. They're a smaller company, so obviously that's on my radar as one of the things. But yes, we're working on the bid specification. We'll have to do the traditional approach because of the timing, but we should not cut down our option of looking at it, still talking to the bus company, looking at a hybrid model down the road, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, I would like to just have so we can, for some districts it works, right? So it's obviously an option, and maybe not for districts like this, or maybe for districts like this, and there's obviously different levels to how much control you can have over it. And there's benefits to every. So I would just like to be able to see. I'm not saying you have to tell us that tonight, but just start exploring that and at least be able to like compare that, or for the long-term budgeting when you're looking 3-4 years down the road, could be something very valuable. And then certainly diversifying services with, maybe special ed busing is with one company, and rather than just having it all under one roof.
I think that was a magic word, which is we should never, I don't want to say never, but should always have different bus companies for special ed and regular ed. It's too much exposure with one company.
Can I just ask, like, if we did decide to go the route of a hybrid model, or, certainly, owning the buses, how long do you think that would take
I would
to
say-
develop that plan?
Your first objection would be, and that's a very typical objection, would be from community members. They don't want to see buses in the school parking lot. Okay, so then you
We have to be in the school parking lot?
no,
Could we
but
find a
then you have
local
to
place?
purchase a facility.
Yeah. So that,
but-
I would think that's a given. Yeah.
And then you have to purchase a facility in an area where it's not residential. So you have to go towards the eastern end of Elk Village.
We have the
And-
Elk Grove, Arlington Heights has those
Right.
places. Yep.
And so fairly close to where our bus yard is right now, because, and even that is a very expensive area. So that's what it takes. So it's not an easy process. It's a long-term process. Then equipment purchase normally because of supply chain. Normally, it's not difficult getting bus deliveries in 3-4 months, but everybody wants buses in summer for fall. So there is always the timeline issue, and I've heard that the recent supply chain issue was 15 months. So once the board decides,
15.
it is 15 months to get the buses. Now, things change because if a bus company is going out of business, your first order would be is try to get the best deal possible.
So we could explore that as well to see if
Right,
there's anything out
absolutely.
there to act on.
We are looking for the best way possible, but from a realistic viewpoint, we'll be working on a parallel route, but we will be working on the bid spec. As a matter of fact, we've already talked about Janet is in the back. We've already talked about working on the bid specifications and I'll give you that word of caution. The market price is really very high right now. And we don't want to trade off some other program for putting more money in buses. So we have to be very prudent how we do it. We have too many, I would say, without having a very in-depth, we have a lot of riders going different parts of the community.
Sure, but exactly the reason why we'd like to explore this other option.
Yep.
So real quick, we get 3 bids, 4 bids, whatever. Do we have to go with the smallest bid?
Do we have to go with
With the
what?
cheapest bid?
No, it's the law. The state law is actually the lowest responsible bidder.
Responsible.
So the
I like
keyword
that.
is responsible.
Mhm.
So one of the things in the bid specification which we have also, we ask a question: have you lost any contract? And who have you lost? So those are all follow-up questions, and every business manager will verify. One of the reasons we have high cost is because it's close to monopoly. Because the good old days they used to say is you can't go wrong selecting an IBM typewriter, because you go for the very best, and very best is all very relative, but it's safe going with some of the companies I mentioned.
If I recall watching as a community member when we did our last bid, and I believe that our current bus company was clearly the low bid, right? It was almost surprising.
Yes.
I remember watching that and just being skeptical.
Mhm.
So just wanted to remind everyone of that was a very obvious low bid.
Well, part of the problem was people who were running the professional management. I don't think had the best interest of the bus company, because they were really underpricing their product, and they also were planning their own company as an alternative.
Are most bus contracts, in your experience, 3 years?
Usually, bus contracts are supposed to be for 3 years with 2 one-year extension. Having said that, there are school districts with bus companies for 15 years. So what happens is, after 3 years, you have a choice for going for 1-year extension twice. And if you don't receive an interest by December, you can start renewing it for 1 more year every year. Now, the big thing, what happens in the marketplace is, if you decide you want to go out for a bid after the contract has expired, they find another opportunity to raise the price above average. And once you have the contract, the increases are not that substantial, but the first contract goes up at a very high rate. That's the risk.
I'd like to look at if there's any bus companies out there that maybe were going out of business, or just to see what it would cost.
For the buses, right?
For the buses,
Oh,
yes. Just to
definitely.
see, and their facility, are they selling that? Just to see, that's all.
Mhm. And I'm watching that too.
Is there any specific board direction that's needed to really pursue this? Terry,
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more analysis, because if we're talking about right now, just the desire to purchase buses, we haven't even had the staffing conversation. And I don't want there to be any assumption that there would be an automatic cost savings if the board was to go that route. I think we haven't looked at route efficiencies and the complexity of our district. And, you know, to speak to previous conversations about routing, part of the reason why we do routing in-house is because we are so complex. And I really feel that our transportation department does an incredible job with the complexities. The number of students who do not attend their neighborhood schools is very high in District 59. There are a lot of specialized programs where students are traveling large distances across the district. So I think I would just caution that we get the full comprehensive view before we look at one portion of a potential solution with the hopes that it's going to reduce costs. Because you still, if you're not bringing your drivers in-house, that's a substantial commitment with a company as well, and you're still going to face some of those same challenges that people are frustrated with today. So obviously going out to bid, that is all, you know, board directed. Mosin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have any other options for 26, 27. I would also, and you can contribute to this, I don't see us going out to bid for anything less than 2 to 3 years, unless you're really willing to pay a premium on that. So I think we need to look at it from like a long range plan.
So if you do a first year, 1 year contract, by the way, even under emergency, when this bus, the two schools, they were put in a position that you have to do a 5-year commitment. Otherwise, they would like to depreciate their bus in 1 year. And that doesn't make any sense. The bus doesn't go to zero value after 1 year. But when you are caught, and when we had approached an option B, we were told 13 buses, but we were also told that we are not a crutch and we have to sign a contract. And if we want a 1 year contract, that will be a very different pricing structure. So it's going to be a 3-year contract.
So so I understand we obviously can't do it for next year, but I don't think there's a person better now or into the future to start exploring what the steps would be, what the cost would be, what the benefits, the negatives, long-term down the line to transition to potentially doing more in-house than you. And so I would love to take advantage of that and understand that's not maybe a viable option for next year, but at least what that could look like.
Would you be open to
a
modification of bell schedule?
Yeah.
That can make a big difference.
Sure.
I hope our DEA is paying attention to that question. Just because that's obviously more than just a board decision in terms of adjusting bell schedules.
Oh, bell schedule. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
He said bell schedule.
Start.
No, I'm talking. No, I'm sorry. I misheard you.
I'm glad we paused.
No. I'm talking about using your time that you're here to start going down that, and even beyond this year.
And throwing out those things, belt schedule, buses, who in-house we could look to certify, who we would have to, purchase somebody. So just looking into it.
No matter what you do, getting bus drivers is
it's
very
not
challenging.
easy.
Well, and also the
Everybody's-
supervision of bus drivers, and I mean, from a human resources perspective, from
there's a
a
whole
supervision perspective, looking out at our building leaders. So I think what would be good, because we actually started these conversations with our legal counsel as well, it might be a good special project to just districts that have gone through that transition. What does that look like? What does it entail? And then putting together kind of a cost benefit analysis of that project. It's a lot on top of what is already on the plates for this year. So that might be, let's get the bid specs and that, but maybe that's a special project for next year with your new leadership. And a special assignment if you want to contract with Mosin or someone else. But that's a lot to do on your limited schedule between now
Very
and,
limited.
yes, your hours are quickly depleting.
So every school district actually has done the other way, and they have gotten out of transportation because of the issues which you just talked about. So model is not there, but I'm encouraging people also, because if everybody does it, there's a critical mass. So
Great.
Thank you, Mosin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was, let's get, so reports to the board committee. So behavior intervention, Ms. Eddy.
We have not had a meeting since. Yeah, so
Do you have anything, like anything else you update us on?
no, I don't think so. I think we're
Okay,
good.
good. Board policy, that's myself, we just did the press update, so those will be approved next meeting. Insurance committee, we have a first meeting coming up sometime in the near future, so no updates right now. EdRed, you all get the emails on. Nothing to point out. IASB, obviously the joint annual conference that I see you're presenting at, so that's exciting. And then also the 1022 committee of the whole meeting falls on the same night as like a regional or North Cook regional meeting. So I would, unless something I would keep that date on your calendar. If you haven't signed up for the North Cook meeting, I would contact Maribel to sign up for it. And unless something comes up where we need to use that meeting as committee of the whole, I think it'd be beneficial for us all to attend that. It's like within our district boundaries, and the president of 214 asked that we try to be there if we can. So, Forest View, right? Okay, curriculum and assessment, Sarah.
No new reports, but I would love to have a curriculum and assessment meeting this year. So I don't know if I should contact you, Miss Evan. Okay. All right.
Down the line, well, anything for wellness or education foundation? Any other updates? Good. All right, NSSCO, or actually, let's go to, because I don't think you have a committee on here. So Nicole, do you have any? Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, I had a chance to go to the Arlington Heights Heritage Fest, thanks to Michelle, who told me about it. It was great. The kids that went there was at the Arlington Heights Historical Museum. They got a little passport, and they could go to all the different booths and learn about the different cultures, and they had crafts for the kids. They also had some different music as well. I know they had Hawaiian was one of the bands that performed as well, and a couple others. They had an Aztec dance group, which was really cool. So the historical museum, it's got activities every Saturday for kids. They've got blocks and checkers. So that's open. It goes along with the farmers market in Arlington Heights. That goes until, I believe, October 11th, and they're open 8 to noon. So thank you. That was a great experience. My son went and he enjoyed it. So thank you. Get my mic on.
All right, thank you. Then NSSEO, Lucas.
All right. I will first start that, Michelle and myself, we went to the Mount Prospect Celebrations of Cultures, represented our board.
Yeah, I have a little update on that. Could we do that before NSSEO? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I'll let you do an update on that one, which was great, by the way. Update on NSSEO. We've had last week, which I was traveling, but thanks to Michelle, who was representing me, we had our participating in the in the meeting. There was a vote to bring the new articles of agreement to our boards to review and rectify. So all of the information together with explanation videos, which I sent before as well, some transcripts. So the articles themselves are all in your mailboxes to review. We will have a session as a committee of a whole before our next meeting on the 30th to have a debate on those articles to see if we want to agree or disagree, or what do we think about them. This is not, we don't expect to make every single decisions right away. but it will be good. It will be good to see all of your opinions and concerns during that meeting. And as a great way to prepare for reviewing of this documentation, which some of us, I know we've already read it, but it will be great to reread it with a good perspective in mind. I asked Dr. Brasnahan to give us an update on from her perspective, as she's also very involved, probably a lot more than me, and has a lot more experience in it, on why there is why we go into the change within the NSSEO, why there is a need for the organizational change and implementation of the operational board, which is basically the board of all superintendents supporting the superintendent of NSSEO. So I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Brasnahan.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lucas. So if you recall, NSSEO underwent a strategic planning process last spring, maybe even winter time. Dr. Degree, who's still in the audience tonight, was with me as well as representatives. There were board representatives as well as administrators and staff from NSSEO and all of the member districts that participated in that. Out of those conversations, one of the top priorities that came out in that strategic plan work was the desire to move towards a layered governance structure, which is really how I believe almost every other cooperative, at least in our area, if not in the state, really functions. So you have your superintendents who are serving in a capacity and an advisory capacity, and then as well as board representatives. Some cooperatives only have a one layer and it's only superintendents. There aren't board members. So it varies across the state how cooperatives run, but NSSEO is somewhat unique in only having board member layer of governance. And so one of the things that we really talked about that came out is how can we all work more collaboratively, because NSSEO is not its own school district. It is a cooperative that is consisting of our students as well as 7 other districts and their students, as well as other students who pay tuition from outside districts to come and be a part of that. And so when I joined the district and learned more about it, there was probably not the level of collaboration that really helped maybe build some of the awareness and insights that I think really would establish a strong decision-making process. And this is no slight to any system that's been in place there, but the needs are challenging and the needs are our students. There are a lot of financial considerations. They cannot levy for their own money. The money and the way that they are funded is through us. And so having our CSBOs participate, and I know Mosin has a great deal of experience as well with special education cooperatives, and Dr. Degree has a wealth of information and experience with that. And she serves in a capacity and advisory with NSSEO. I think the layer with the superintendents is to really look at how do we help support long-range facilities planning? How do we help support knowing how much member districts are paying versus non-member districts are paying? And how do we ensure that the staffing meets the needs of our individual students? And where can we find cost efficiencies? So the operational board is really designed to work in unison with the governing board so that when Lucas goes or Michelle goes as your representative, that we know, hey, this is how this decision impacts District 59 and our finances or our students and their specific needs that come from our district, so that we can go and be the best representatives for our students. So all that information, it's really coming out of Dr. Schnorr and her leadership to really say, if we, in creating these 2 governing bodies that work in collaboration, we can really plan better for the future and hopefully be great stewards of our finances, as well as ensure that we are all putting our eyes on all of our students, including those that are at NSSEO and not necessarily within our District 59 walls. And so the materials that are all there for your review, Meg put together a great video for you to watch as well. The process right now, the first step is to open up these articles, and that you can see what is being proposed. And what Dr. Schnorr is asking for is your feedback, our board, each of our boards to provide feedback, questions that you may have about those articles by October 15th. That way you can, the representative board can then have a in-depth discussion and provide feedback, and then choose to how those articles will be modified. And then they would take a vote. And then that vote would then come back to the member districts for ratification. So on September 30th, during our committee of the whole, I've asked Dr. Degree to be present because I think she can contribute a lot to that. Hopefully Mosin will be present as well. So you can ask, what would that look like? Why would that benefit us? Or what would that change? And I think, the majority of the districts did feel in favor of this and pass this. And so this is the task in front of you for September 30th. So happy to have any conversations that we need to, but I think the in-depth discussion on the 30th will be a great time. But you got some homework to do before then to really become familiar with what you're looking at, and happy to help support in any way that we can internally.
And Terry, I can't help but just ask an overarching question, and that, we can discuss further on the 30th, is just what in the current structure is preventing the collaboration that you're asking to have? Why do we have to change structure? My understanding is there is a superintendent's council already in place that's been in place for a while. It's been meeting regularly. Why can't that structure achieve what you're looking to achieve?
I think that's a valid question, and one that we really talked in depth through the strategic planning process. So that council got put together as a result of the strategic plan. It did not exist before. So I didn't have really a formalized role within NSSEO outside of my meetings. Elizabeth has a role, and then there were, meetings with the CSBOs, and obviously we connect and collaborate as superintendents, but to really have a more involved hand in I guess accountability on the superintendent. So, one example is, I remember maybe my first or second year, there was a discussion that came up, and our representative for NSSEO talked about, NSSEO is, rather than refunding money back to the school districts, which they true up at the end of the year, and if our tuition was less than what we had thought, we got refunded that money, and that goes back into our accounts. Well, NSSEO and the board had a conversation of, well, let's just keep that money, and rather than refunding, we'll put it in a fund so that we can do building repairs. And I think, Lucas, you might have even been at that Facilities and Finance Committee meeting where we had that conversation.
It was Joe, but I was
Joe was a representative, but you were on our
closely paying attention to
on our finance, and absolutely. So when I heard about it, and when Ron heard about it, we're like, wait, that would actually go against our accounting requirements, and then we wouldn't be trued up, and that could throw off our auditing process. And so that was a good conversation of that didn't flow through the superintendents.
So you missed out on that important conversation because of how it was.
And it wouldn't be something necessarily that you as a board member would even think to ask or know about, right?
That's a great example.
And so it is a good, it's checks and balances, but it really, it helps improve collaboration and communication. And everyone gets really busy, and when it's not, you have to be here and you're going to have to pay attention to this. Sometimes not all superintendents are paying as close attention as they need to be. And this just creates that layer of accountability, collaboration. I don't know, Mosin, if you want to add anything, or Dr. Gree, you are welcome to come up to the mic. But we will be discussing this in depth on September 30th.
And I'll just want to add one thing, Michelle. Is that, like, the disconnect in communication, that happened before the timing on what came out of the strategic planning sessions.
Mm-hmm.
That disconnect was before we had the committee of superintendents. So I mean, now hopefully there is more communication and visibility. Although I am not sure how many meetings we had so far, or what was discussed in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just like to add, I think, and through, just to the rest of the board, I think an important piece of this is we have to just think about what the role of the board is, because we do, everyone agrees the superintendents need to have as much of a role as as they can, because they're the ones who know our students. But we can't forget what our role is as the board. And we all are a part of the NSSEO board. It's just, Lucas is our representative, but it's really us. We are responsible. And we just need to remember what our role is and what may be impacted by this change. It's important for us to notice that.
I've been a special education cooperative business manager for my first 9 years, and I learned a lot, by the way. That was a legal entity, which meant the superintendents used to attend the board meeting, and the lay board members who had quarterly meetings to make sure everything is going as expected from the boards. The superintendent's meeting were on a monthly basis, and I had to prepare a lot for those meetings because they all wanted to make sure that our salary schedule is not different than the member school district. The lay board members were relatively easy because there was not much depth accountability process. But I'm saying that because the largest cost component of any school district is usually the billing from special ed co-op. Fortunately, I had a meeting with her after I found out that I'm attending a meeting of the NSSEO business managers last Friday. She gave me a good overview of our setup, and I was very impressed with the program she's supervising. And we are not doing hiring them for everything when we can hire our own staff members. And that makes a big difference, by the way, financially. I've come across school districts in my consulting after retirement where 20 to 25% of their budget is going to the special ed co-op. And if you don't have accountability like the superintendent, the business managers, HR people interacting on a very regular basis along with, it becomes a challenge. So because you're holding us responsible for the balanced budget, every time there's an increase from the special ed, it has to come out somewhere else within our program. So I like the concept of 2 overseers. And when the superintendents they normally always consult with the special ed director and the finance person based on the agenda and what topics are. And I've never shied away from giving my opinion.
Okay. Anything else, Lucas?
So, Olson, you said something about how a lot of the districts are now kind of not pulling back, but they have a lot of the services in their own home schools, home districts. Something to, talk about is, or just, I guess, ease my mind, and I'm sure others. We know that other co-ops have started to dismantle. And I know that, when things dismantle, it doesn't always support the students in the best ways, in my opinion. So I just want to make sure, is this the first process of our admin going, yeah, please chime in.
No, this would absolutely
and
move us in
finding
the opposite direction, which
and
is
the
what we're
reason-
trying to
The reason why I'm
prevent.
saying this is now that admin are starting to find and figure out exactly where things are being spent, is it, we could start taking this back and we could start taking this back?
No, and I will say,
I just wanna make
I
sure.
want to be really clear because I did watch the meeting live. I, as a superintendent who have worked with many co-ops, I've been in districts that have moved into co-ops. I've been in districts where co-ops have dissolved. I've been in ones where we had a dual layer of governance. One of the statements that I heard made is kind of this thing that we don't know how funding works for co-ops. We are very well versed as superintendents. And I would say Elizabeth is even better versed than I in terms of the needs and the efficiencies and what is the value of a co-op. Our goal here is to be more directly involved to ensure that our students in the co-op are getting the best that they can get as well as our students who are within District 59. That is our sole purpose and goal. There is no advantage for me. You guys vote on the budget. It does not matter to me where that is going, how that is being spent, if the board is approving it. It is about what are the needs of our students. So there is zero. I want to dispel any rumors or myths that might be out there. There is not a single superintendent who sits in those member districts who has any interest in seeing the demise or the dismantling of NSSEO. It is, in fact, quite the opposite. And the amount of time that we have now spent committed to NSSEO over the past year to help improve it is specifically for that reason. We want to be a help. We have been absentee partners. And this goes long before me. This will be long after me. This is zero about me, Terry. It's more work, to be quite honest. But if I am going to sit in front of here and support a budget that's coming forward, NSSEO is part of it. And I am not doing my due diligence if I am not actively engaging and participating and aware and advocating and educating my board around what's happening there as much as I'm educating you on what's happening in our 15 other schools. So that is absolutely the wholehearted truth behind it, and what really is at the core of where this came from. And it really is being also driven by NSSEO, who I think for a long time saw us as customers and not partners. We are not customers. We are jointly accountable to NSSEO. And I will let Elizabeth speak.
I appreciate that. So in terms of, so there's a co-op in the North Shore that has recently kind of fizzled, right? Those issues are different. So in terms of withdrawing from a co-op, which is what you're talking about, that is outlined in the articles, the joint agreement, right? That we have with the co-op. As Dr. Bresnahan said, there's no one who's interested in dissolving NSSEO or pulling out of the co-op. Mosen is talking about pulling out purchase services, which we should do. I mean, you guys are talking about pulling out transportation. We can certainly pull out occupational therapists, right? So we don't need to purchase services. We need to have programs available for our kids who need those programs. So there are different pieces of NSSEO that are utilized more or less by different districts. So any time a district would move to pull out of a co-op, there's a whole state outlined system that has to be done in order for that to happen. Again, not on the table for anybody. Thinking about the finances piece in particular, I think it's good to think about how NSSEO does their budgeting, which is that we go to, and it was Ron and I'm sure Mosen will go with me, to the finance committee meetings every year. And all of the business managers and all of the directors of special ed or assistant soups, whoever the representative is sitting there talking through the finances. Now, we are talking through that, and the business managers have a really robust conversation. We're talking from a program perspective. They're talking from a financial perspective, again, about the contracts, all of those different pieces that work together. When we come to the end of that budget, the budget that is presented to the board may or may not be what the district's contributed to through the course of that planning, right? So we had that whole committee, and not to say that NSSEO doesn't try to come together, but in terms of voting for a budget, I think that, folks at the district level who are doing that work every day, the superintendents, need to be able to have a voice to say, this is the amount that District 59 is going to be responsible for, and also all of the tuition for all of our students. And that, I think, is sometimes, I watch all of our board meetings, even when I'm not here, and you all have very robust discussion about budget and everything else. That doesn't always happen at the NSSEO board because it's not always clear when they present information what the responsibilities are of each district. The superintendents and the group that I'm a part of, we know what the responsibilities are for each district, and so that's a really important piece.
I would correct a little bit. Gavin is pretty good at presenting it.
I have seen his presentations. Gavin is very good, but that doesn't mean he's really representing the districts. We are representing the districts in that process. And then the other piece that I wanted to speak to was, the governance structure. I have worked all over the state of Illinois, consulting, part of professional organizations. I've never seen another co-op that has this governance structure. It is, when you start to look south, it's almost all strictly superintendents and no board representation, no lay board members. In this area, they do sometimes have the dual layered board. NSSEO is very unique in having only lay board members. It is very, very unusual. As I said, I don't know of any other co-ops who have it. They might exist, but I'm unaware of them.
But it's also based on your experience and all the co-ops that you looked at. How would you rank an SSEO?
It depends on what kinds of things you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kinds of things you're talking about. I think there are co-ops.
Satisfied with it?
As in serving kids, parents, community.
I think they do what we need them to do. In terms of ranking them, I mean, there's some co-ops that are killing it. I couldn't rank. NSSEO meets all of our needs for our students who attend their programs. Absolutely.
I mean, my kid is in that program, and I'll say I'm extremely happy.
Yeah.
And I also know some districts that I would avoid with 10-foot pole or more. Some of them richer than ours.
Yeah, and as I said, the programming for our kids, NSSEO does a great job.
And I think that was my big thing. I kind of want it in public that this is not something that we're looking at doing. Like this is not the reason why this new board is being added to these articles.
Is that something that you heard?
And nobody
Nikki?
at NSSEO thinks that
Potentially.
either.
That has
Nobody at NSSEO
never
thinks
once
that
been talked in
So, and
any
I think
of
it was
the
mentioned at the
meetings.
NSSEO meeting I attended as well. Just
That-
very briefly, it was mentioned by a board member.
by a board member.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
it was.
None of the districts are talking about
No.
that.
I mean, not that they were interested in it, that they were worried about it.
Concerned about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wanted it kind of put out there that that is not the reason. And
Yeah,
We're good.
one thing has nothing to do with the other.
No, and it would absolutely not. This would probably be the opposite route one would take if that was ultimately the hope. I don't, that thinking or fear, I don't know where that would come from.
I think just a consideration to have is that may not be the current thinking of any of the sitting superintendents, but will this change in the structure pave the way for that to happen more easily? I'm talking now to the rest of the board about why this is important.
I
us as a
wouldn't be
board
able to do
address.
that without the
So-
support of my board. So I'm governed within you. We are part, and SEO is part of us. Whether you are sitting there voting or whether I am sitting there voting or whether we are both having contributions to this, ultimately everything flows through here.
So if a district
I
ever
don't
did
understand
want to
that.
pull out of a co-op, they have to file a plan with the state. The board has to vote on it. So that, I mean, again, that could never happen like in secret, and that's a really open process. And districts have to prove exactly how they're going to meet the needs of all the kids who are in those current programs and how they're going to meet the staffing. And again, has to be approved by the state, has to be approved by the board before it even goes to the state. So there's it's truly a non-issue.
Okay. All right. So we will discuss it more on the 30th. Anything else? So do your homework, read the stuff, come with questions. And then the point of the 30th is for you to then
to,
present
to
our
gather our
questions.
thoughts so we
Yeah.
can then have a board unite board view which then can be discussed during the next NSSU meeting.
Got it.
What is it, 15th? No, it's
October 15th, it sounded like.
That's the date they need the answer.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. I think the meeting is a week before.
Okay. All right. That is, so 8.10 communications. Any, Michelle or Lucas, any updates?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to just give an update on the celebration of cultures. I
Sure.
know everyone's tired of me talking about it, but it actually happened. It was a great success. Lucas and Nikki
Definitely.
were there. And it was everything I hoped it would be. We engaged with many community members of all ages. I'm not sure who was from District 59 or not. We didn't ask those questions. The kids, nobody really seemed to care that we were from the board, but we had a great location right in front, right in the very front with our tablecloth. It was, we were very well represented. The kids loved the activity, which was a geography activity, asking the kids to identify the country where their families are from. So really, there was a lot of engagement. People were even coming back a second time. And also several District 59 families participated in the opening
Yeah, we
parade.
had great volunteers.
Yeah. I just a huge shout out to Miss Robertson and Miss Tejeda for helping us with the event. And also a big shout out to Miss Gonzalez and Miss Londor for their support at the event. And most importantly, the Holmes National Junior Honor Society students who showed up and actually helped us throughout the day. They were helping students with the activity, so I was able to talk to people. I engaged with a lot of community members that I have known over the years who now saw that I was on the board, and that was like definitely one of the things we were trying to do. We're trying to improve our visibility, connect with the community, and I think this was
And not just
really
the board,
good
it was
event.
basically a district connecting to the community, which was great.
Well,
And again,
yes.
second, thank you to everyone who helped. Before mentioned, definitely thank you very much.
Yeah, and made some good connections with the Village of Mount Prospect. They're really getting to know us, and we also they were they had a fundraiser for the families that were impacted by the storm and the roof collapse that was there. So there's just a lot going on, and it was I'm just really glad that we can officially be there.
Anything for finance facilities?
Oh, I have one more thing for the communications. There is a sign-up sheet to adapt the school. Thank you very much for setting it up. Please, I believe we have still 3 more schools. So if let's all look at it and see if we can add one more. Sarah, thank you again for setting it up. Sarah, Michelle?
Well, I set it up. Sarah sent it out. We're trying to collaborate here, because we all need to kind of own this. And because, we really don't want to roll out Adopt a School until we've really got a plan, everyone committed, which schools and, but you're saying, I haven't looked at it today. You're saying there's only 3 schools? Oh, only 2 schools left. Okay. We won't say it because we don't want it to, there's no reason why it's 2 schools left, but no, that's great. It really filled up. Thank you, Sarah.
Do you guys mind if we start, contacting people from schools like PTO presidents or principals and asking how we can be involved and looking for their calendar of events?
Yeah, if you could share who signs up for what
Sure.
and make sure that Maribel has that, then we can at least give our principals a heads up and they can work with their PTOs as well. That way it's a collaborative effort.
Great.
It'd be
Yes.
awesome.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Good. Okay, so for long range planning, on the 30th, we'll get the full download on the strategic plan, but on the previous meeting, we got an update from Perry's group on that. We also met with the BWP, the superintendent search firm. So within the next, I think mostly next week and within the coming days, people will start, if not already, seeing communications go out there about how different stakeholder groups can give their feedback. It's going to be a closed process, which means all the feedback will be upfront and the candidates will be presented later in the process to the board, not to the public until an announcement is made. So that will help us make sure we're getting the best possible candidates. So any feedback that you want to give, there'll be surveys, there'll be stakeholder groups. You can always, send your feedback to the board directly to consider, but keep an eye out for that. Informational items, nothing there. Okay, so we do have, I just need a motion to go into closed session for items A through F listed on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Move in second, roll call
Yes.
vote.
Zach. Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Buckler.
Aye.